Hello everyone, my name is Sakshi Sharma, student ID 2510994793, and this is my distinction task for SIT 102 Introduction to Programming, and this is my gaming arcade project which I've written in C++ using Splashkit. So I'll be walking you through the code. So here on the very top, I've included the Splashkit library and the string library. So this Flashkit library allows me to create the window and draw the images and text and handle the keyboard and mouse inputs. And the string library is used to store the text like the names and using the standard namespace. So next I've defined a set of constants for the window dimensions, for the number of fruits, for the dimensions of the tile and the grid which I've used in my game. Then I've defined a constant for the maximum scores. Then I've created a few enums. I created an enum for the game state and an enum for the type of the fruit. So further along, I've created a few structs for the storing the details of the fruit, the basket, the player, and the score entry. So below this, I have created a dynamic array using new to store the score history. So this will allow the program to save multiple scores from the two games when it is running. And then I created a procedure for loading the resources. It has all the bitmaps. Then there is a procedure for adding a score to our dynamic array. Further, there is a Boolean function for drawing the buttons for the options that will be displayed in the main menu. So I've used the fill rectangle, draw rectangle function. I've used the point 2D mouse position function. Then there is a procedure for resetting the fruit. So here I have defined the X position of the fruit. It will start at a random position and the y coordinate for the fruit will I've taken it as minus random value for between 0 to 400 because I want the fruit to start from the over the screen from the top of the screen. So here is the procedure for playing this game. This game is a fruit catching game. It uses a dynamic array for fruits and the player controls the basket using the left and the right arrow keys, and the fruits they fall continuously from the top. So if a good fruit collides with the basket, there is an increment in the score, and if a rotten fruit is caught, then the player will lose a life. So the fruits are reused by resetting them. I'm not creating any new ones. So once the player will run out of the lives, the final score is then saved. So this is my code for the procedure for playing fruit catch. Then there is the second game in this gaming arcade, which is the Mind Maze. So then there is my second game, which is the Mind Maze. So this game uses a player object, which is created locally only in this procedure because the player will exist only when the game is running, and the player moves one tile at a time, and the movement of the player is facilitated by using the arrow keys. So each tile here for the maze is drawn using a bitmap, and when the player reaches the end, which is the goal tile, the game ends and the score is then recorded. Then there is the show scores function. It displays all the saved scores from both the games on the screen. So it then loops through the score history array and it draws the each entry. so that you can see your scores from the two games that you've played. Then there is the main menu function. It controls the navigation. So it draws the title and the buttons depending on which button that is clicked by the user. Then finally there is the main function. So here a window is created and the loading resources function is then called. So this program then runs in a continuous loop that it keeps on checking the current game states and keeps on calling the appropriate functions. And the loop ends when the user chooses to exit, and then all the dynamically allocated memory for like the scores is then freed and the program ends. So overall, this project was really interesting and it helped me in understanding, uh, structuring a larger program and managing memory dynamically and building something so interactive using SplashKit functions. Thank you so much for watching my demonstration.